Hey, what's up, people? Happy Black Friday. I am coming on live like I've been doing the last few times, way before I'm ready, just to let you guys see what it's like behind the scenes. So I still haven't checked my teeth to see if there's any Waldorf salad in them. Still drinking my coffee. What else? Still haven't reviewed my notes, but I just miss you guys so much. I really want to just catch up with you. So if you're here, please say something and let me know that the mic is working. It looks like everything's plugged in, including my brain, even though I'm not rehearsed. That was intentional, of course. And I finally found one of those backward baseball caps, Jackie Bushable. Yay! I'm here on time. You're here on time. I know. See, I turned it on right at 1:15 because I hate being late. And like I said, I'm always late because there's always like a million things to do before you come home. See, I feel very at home here. Like you got to go pee, right? Just to be sure, even if you already had an hour ago, you just want to make sure that's not going to be an issue. You got to have your water. I got that. Coffee. I was in the middle of having a bite to eat, and I'm just like, I put it down. So if I get hungry, I might actually eat in front of you guys or just like go off screen for a second. But yeah, the backward baseball cap. I've been looking for one of these for years, and I finally found one. Turned out that I had one in my house all along. Ha ha ha. Right? That's just like a long running joke with me and my husband or me and my friends. I don't know. We're always like, where do you find one of those backward baseball caps? You guys probably joke about that too, right? They do look cool, and the reason it's good for being on screen is because it takes care of the whole bad hair problem. And when you have your baseball cap on, like most of us do, it like shadows your face, and then trying to counteract that shadowing without washing yourself out and making yourself like radioactive is challenging, to say the least. The lighting is the roughest part. But how are you doing, Jackie Bushable? How was your turkey day? I hope it was good. For me, my challenge is literally always like not overdoing it. That's always my challenge with everything in life. So I was very pleased that I didn't overdo it. I like to kind of undereat on the holidays since there's so many things that you want to partake in, and then pumpkin pie. So it's like if you eat until you're full and then you have a little bit more, then you start to feel like you're going to explode, and then you want dessert. And then if there's more than one dessert, then you're going to die. Not to get too personal, but I did throw up once after a situation like that. I was like 20 and I had just had my wisdom teeth out where I wasn't able to eat anything for like 6 weeks. And then I was able to eat a few days before Thanksgiving. And then by the time Thanksgiving came, I ate so much that I actually exploded, and it was gross. Good thing I didn't drink alcohol back then. That could have been even grosser, huh? Jackie Bushable says it was okay. I lost my husband in June and then our dog on Tuesday. I'm trying to just stay above water. Holy crap, Jackie. I could just cry for you. I am so sorry. And thank you for sharing. It's good to put that out there so people can empathize and show you support. That effing sucks. If you want to say what took them, please feel free. And if you don't, that's fine too. It's been a lot. Yeah, I get it. I absolutely get it. I mean, I feel like we've had a lot going on, because one of our dogs had cancer and we thought we were going to lose her. And then we had to spend like our entire life savings to get the cancer treatment. And then we still have to get more cancer treatment. So expensive. And yet I feel so fortunate. I'm just like, thank goodness that we can get the treatment. Thank goodness that the treatment is there. Thank goodness that the funds are there, even though they're not really, that we could come up with it, because they make you pay on, pay it forward or pay the at treatment at the appointment. Like they don't bill you. I mean, you can get that pet insurance, but I don't know how all that stuff works. My husband deleted himself and the dog had heart failure. Are you effing kidding me? How old, my dear? How freaking old? Ugh. Whew. That's terrible. Was he sick? Again, I don't want to pry. I'm just offering my support and understanding. And that's a lot. That's a lot. And how old did I already ask? How old was your husband? How old was the dog? Um, yeah, it's so hard. June. My mother passed away in March. I think I don't even know if it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It must have been 3 years ago because it was right before I started my channel, I think. Um, and yeah, it's been hard to cope with. Husband 66, dog would be 13 in January. Oh, and what kind of doggy? Man, that's so young for your hubby. Do you guys have kids? Do you have kids? Oh, man. Yeah, my mom was born in 43, so she'd be 81 if she was still alive. So she passed when she was like 79, I think. I was ambushed, didn't know anything was wrong. Wow. That doesn't have anything to do with your handle, Jackie Bushable, or does it? I always just thought that was a cute handle, but I think you've been around as Jackie Bushable for longer than since this past June, right? You're like an old timer to me in my mind's eye. That's crazy. And it's just me and you, my dear. So we can have like a one-on-one therapy, but I don't want you to feel any pressure because you don't need to be public about anything you don't want to be public about, of course. I believe my husband was sick. He had survived prostate cancer and 2 melanoma events. He told me he would never get back on the medical wheel again. I totally understand. Yeah, the medical thing is horrible. Being laid up in bed and um, just getting bad treatment, or even with good treatment, it's hard. But usually you're going to have some type of bad treatment. You're going to have some kind of like evil nurse ratchet or something. You're going to have some jerk doctor on the weekends if you're inpatient. It's really hard to get good medical care, even with the best insurance, even with the best hospital, even with the best doctors. We're all human, including them. And, I try to be grateful for everything that they do well, because they do a lot well. But that's terrible. It's terrible that you were blindsided, and how difficult can that be? I asked if you have kids, and if you want to share, please do. And if you don't, that's fine too. Dear, I am so sorry. What a challenge of a holiday. I hope you had some good support yesterday and every day, or good solitude. Um, Sometimes it's nice to be alone, but I think in a time like that, it's good to be around people, nice people, and only nice people. And just don't put up with anybody that's the slightest bit not nice or questions you. Nobody needs to question you about nothing, you know. Funny thing is, I worked in medical for 25 years in surgery. He worked hard. He was in union concrete. Wow. Right. So you know exactly what it's like being in med surge for 25 years. Our system is broken. Our system is broken. And oh man, there's just so many challenges, so many health challenges. So I hope that you're at least financially well established and secure, so that that's not an issue too. It sounds like you probably are, with 25 years in the medical field and whatever with the husband's career and insurance policy or what have you. Maltese. I got to look up Maltese because I know what a Maltese is, but I can't think of it. Um, let's see. Yeah, so I want to do a review, you guys. I want to do a reaction of a particular video that I just found today. I knew of this content creator prior, but just barely. A female political content creator. What's her name? I don't even know her name off the top of my head, but I think I have it written down on this notebook. I have like 5 notebooks around me right now because I'm not organized. JessicaDenson. She's a former Trump aide. Okay. She's awesome. And then she was on Midas Touch, and she just separated herself from Midas Touch. And, I'm a big fan of Midas Touch, but I liked her a lot on Midas Touch. There's not a lot of women on these political platforms. Even regular YouTube, you guys, believe it or not, when it comes to regular YouTube, it's also male dominated, in my opinion, from my perspective. And let me run through all of my regular stuff. But I want to look up Maltese. And I'm just so sorry. The puppy dogs are the best. How do you spell that? I can't spell nothing. Maltese. I'm completely dyslexic, and I was functionally illiterate for my entire life up until young adulthood. Let's see. Stay signed out. Yes. Oh, they're the little ones. So yeah. 13, isn't that what you said, how old the doggy was? Because little ones live longer. Was the ones that are coming up are white? Was yours white, or was your a different color? And aren't they the ones that can get the adorable little like dreadlocks? Like they look like the little mop tops. Really, really cute. So, let's see. He made sure I was financially established without my knowledge. Well, that was nice of him, Jackie Bushable. I appreciate you too. And you said yes. I'm not sure what you said yes to because I was talking about all this stuff. So let me do my little disclaimer and then get right into JessicaDenson and a video that I want to react to that she did 6 days ago. I just found it today. I'm so glad I found it. It's freaking brilliant. So please hit that like button, share a video of mine or my channel with somebody that you think might like it, or on a social media platform in a group or something. That's awesome. Make sure you're still subscribed if you are subscribed, and if you're not, please consider just hitting that sub button. It doesn't cost you anything. There's no commitment if you're not familiar. Most of us are, right? And sometimes we're not subscribed and we just don't even realize it. Sometimes we were subscribed and we got unsubscribed without knowing it. Turn on your notification bell to ring if you want to know when I am coming on live or when I drop a little video. I dropped 2 shorts yesterday, you guys. I'm so excited. I think I have 5 shorts up now. So my first short I did like a year ago in black and white. That was my first shot at it, and it came out pretty good. I mean, I wasn't sure what I was doing, but it was kind of kismet. It was kind of that beginner's luck. That one has over 1,000 views. And like I said, it's been up for probably close to a year. I have to check the date on it. It's in black and white, and it's a Moscow 4 kind of commentary without any words. I mean, the only words are Moscow PD hard at work, and it's James Fry, and I forget which officer. Oh, I think it's the guy that they try to act like is so great at everything. The guy with the mustache, the brown hair and the mustache, and his name is like Goober or something. I'm not even kidding you. Anyway, they're just standing on the door stoop at 1122 King Road in the days immediately following the quadruple slaughter. And one of them's on the phone, and James Fry is just standing there, probably with his thumbs in his pockets, just like he's doing in that snapshot of the surveillance footage from the back of the corner club where his face is all blurred out. I believe that that's him 100%. I've gone over that again and again. Anyway, so he's just standing there. The other guy, again, like I said, his name is like Goober or Maltese or something in between there. I'll look it up and I'll put it in the description. It's a kind of a funny name. And I was just going over it a couple of days ago, I think, in a live with What's the Obsession, and she was going over some of the He was the guy who did all the like forensic IT stuff. He had like the higher training for that. He might have a master's degree. He probably trained at Quantico. But he honestly doesn't seem that smart. Not that I am or anything, but he just doesn't. And and just him and Fry there on the stoop, like looking at the camera, not doing anything, is just a little much. 2 or 3 days in, I think, to like this monster of a case. And I looked Fry up. He did not win the election for sheriff earlier this month. So I don't know if he's unemployed. He retired, I think, in March. And who in the world would retire midstream during like the crime of the century? Unless you wanted to run and hide. Anyway, his wife, Julie Fry, I believe, is still the clerk of court, so she can regulate all the court records and all of the redactions and what's disclosed and what's not disclosed. And she went from being the financial director, the treasurer of Moscow, and I got it backwards in my last video where I mentioned it. She's been she was appointed to become the treasurer of the city of Moscow, sorry, in 2018, and James Fry was selected out of a group of 4 final candidates to be the police chief in 2016. And Roger Lanier, the captain, was one of those 4. I think Roger Lanier had been an assistant chief in a nearby department, and James Fry had been the captain in the Moscow PD. I don't know if Roger Lanier went to the University of Idaho. I imagine that he did because I've said it before, I'll say it again. It seems like everybody that's mentioned in these cases is a graduate or student of the University of Idaho. It's that kind of legacy school in that kind of town, and everybody's loyal to it. All the judges, all the lawyers, all the law enforcement, all the students and their parents and their families. I'm not exaggerating. So there's very little of that type of thing with Wazoo, with Washington State University, that's 7 or 9 miles away in Pullman, Washington. That school does not have that type of clout except for when it comes to football. Wazoo is considered the zoo. It's a party school. It's party animals. It's frat boys gone wild on spring break in Florida kind of thing. And that's always, in my opinion, experience and knowledge. Whereas Moscow is kind of highbrow, basically, just to sum it up. Chat disconnected. Please wait while we try to reconnect you. Successfully connected. Why does it do that? I will find your shorts. Thank you. So one of them I think is hilarious. It's a clip from the last live that I did about the Gazpacho police. And then, so a few months ago, I made 2 shorts in the same day, and I was all excited. They're in color, and I was like, woohoo, I learned how to make the shorts, and in a different style than the black and white one. And then I kind of forgot how to make them. So I just Googled it yesterday, and then I tried, like, it took me forever. It was Thanksgiving, so I was able just to like hang out with the family and watch movies and while cooking and doing this because I wasn't going to make a video, but I made my little shorts and I got 2 done. It took me hours and hours and hours because I had so much trouble with the internet and with my device, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, the Gazpacho police one I love. And then the other one is about Chief Fry and his wife, Julie Fry, and how they were really in charge of the town. When Moscow 4 happened, let me say this, then I'll do my disclaimer, and then I'll talk about the other stuff. When the Idaho 4 case happened on the night of Saturday, November 12th, 2002, or the morning, actually, of Sunday, November 13th of 2022, because we know that Maddie and Kaylee were at the grub truck still at 1 to 1:30 in the morning. So it was that night, but it was already the 13th. Anyway, Julie Fry had just been elected to be the clerk of courts on Tuesday, November 8th. 4 days, 5 at the most, because you got Tuesday, Wednesday, let's just say Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 5 days earlier, but only 3 business days, Julie Fry was elected to that very important position. And then I don't know, I'm imagining that she resigned from being treasurer, because I would think that both of those are full-time posts that probably require more than 40 hours a week. But I don't know. So I don't know if she kept her status as treasurer and she's the clerk, or how those transitions went. But she, was the clerk elect from September 8th until she was probably sworn in on January 1st. That's usually how they do it. And then her husband, and these two are both graduates of the University of Idaho. Her husband was the police chief. So they controlled a lot of the government in Moscow, in my opinion. And everything I say is OMG on James Fry. Yeah, and actually his name, I'm pretty sure their name is just spelled Fry, like fry pan. Or French fry, small fry. Anyway, everything I say is simply my opinion, for the sake of hoping to start a conversation with you guys and open up a discussion and learn something and be educational. And all my videos to date have been made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. And I just love this platform. I have issues with it, but I do love it. That's okay. Nothing's perfect. But I'm concerned. I'm concerned that I've been shadow banned since I started. And I'm concerned that the shadow banning for everybody is going to become much more significant and severe. I think that a lot of political information gets suppressed. Like, I did my first video where I put political in the title, and it was getting no views, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I took the word political out of the title, and then it got like the regular amount of views. That was just a couple weeks ago. And I thought, I knew that, but I had forgotten when I made the title, and I just wasn't paying attention. There's so much to know and so much to learn with this process. But to me, it's a profound creative process. It's not something I ever thought I'd do or be remotely competent with. And I absolutely love it. So thank you for watching. And you're confusing me. Moscow is Idaho and Moscow is Russia. I thought it was the other way around. Like the cow, I don't even freaking care. They both can screw off as far as I'm concerned. Just kidding. Not kidding, right? I understand about that, Jackie Bushable says. So yeah, I'm really glad that at least financially you're sound, but that doesn't really seem like it amounts to much when you're going through that kind of stuff that you're going through. And especially losing your puppy dog at the same time or 6 months later. Like, that is just, both are so wrong. But to have them happen in the same year is just too bad. This case gets worse. The O's are not looking so good. The G's, my glasses have a glare on them. I didn't do my little glasses thing yet. Maybe I should. Because, yeah, I read a word the other day. It was nephew, and I read husband. And some of that was just because my vision of the glasses, they get so freaking blurry. Because I need to trim my eyelashes. I'm not even kidding about that. The eyelashes touch the glass and make them blurry like almost immediately. That's why I'm constantly obsessed with cleaning my glasses. And it's one of those things that it's like, oh, I got to clean my glasses before I come on. So let's make everybody wait and be late. Or you guys can watch me with my cool little, what is it, charcoal thing that my friend gave me. So, all right, and now it's much easier to see the actual letters, the full shape. This case just gets worse. The G's are not looking so good. Olivia was arrested in June, domestic violence, and that case is a common. Yeah, Olivia, I don't know. And she had the baby right after the tragedy, and she named the baby something like Maddie K. Very cute. Yeah, I don't know about something's up with her. I mean, she probably felt competitive with her sister, and who knows, maybe they had a competition with their significant others or something. I mean, the family seemed more committed to Jack D than Kaylee did, right? I really question everything about that. I think they were right to be suspicious of him. I think they were right to like strip search him. And I don't care if he didn't have any marks on him. That still doesn't mean he didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, where he lived, he had like perfect view of their entire house, like right into Kaylee's window. That's kind of creepy, even if they were dating. And then they had the dog that they shared the custody of, which is weird because probably neither of their residences allowed pets. And didn't the guy who owned 1122 King Road also own the house that Jack D rented an apartment in? Because that house, I think, was like broken up into apartments, the one on Queen Road, kind of. Anyway, I don't trust him. I don't trust the 13 calls mostly texts that were made from the two girls' phones to Jack D that night, starting at like 2:56 or ending at 2:56. The thing is ending at 2:56. Anyway, that whole timeline where they said that everything happened between 3 and 4 until the PCA came out, and then they were like, exactly at 4 is when things started, but we can't tell you exactly when the DoorDash was delivered, even though we would know that. We're going to just say approximately 4 for the DoorDash. That's so many red flags. So many red flags. It's crazy, isn't it? Julie Fry. Yeah. I didn't realize she got that job so close to the perfect storm. And those things seem to happen in corruption where people get elected or appointed to some big job. Like think about Sheriff Wu in Placer County. And 10 days after he was sworn in, a gorgeous 16-year-old rock star disappears in his county. And he's got that whole history with that 16-year-old or 18-year-old, the one that was a teenager who he impregnated and then forced to terminate. And he did all this when she was an explorer, and he did this on company time, allegedly. But there's that whole affidavit about that somebody, I think the guy that wrote the affidavit was a judge. I know he's a lawyer at the very least. Anyway, I didn't realize she got that job so close to the perfect storm. Right. And then we never talk about the job that Kaylee was offered in Austin, Texas, that was with the company that kind of controlled everything. The high-tech security company. High-tech security company. Let's just keep saying that. High-tech security company. Okay. And she was studying to be an elementary school teacher or to be some type of school teacher. And then she gets this high-tech job. She goes and buys that expensive Range Rover as a college student with her own money that her family's like, ooh, she saved up her own money. Really? Working at the coffee shop that she quit? Okay. Yeah. I didn't realize she got the job so close to the perfect storm. And yeah, I think that's really important. I did highlight that. Did I get it backwards? Yeah, I think you got it backwards, MC3. I thought you were a troll just trying to mess me up. But I'm like, no, you're my wrench. You wouldn't do that. No, but I'm pretty sure that the Moscow is Idaho and Moscow is how you say the Russia. Kaylee had her and JD blocked. Wait, Kaylee had Olivia, her sister, blocked? Are you kidding me? I didn't know this because, I don't pay that much attention to the case anymore. But also, Kaylee had the dog. She had dumped JD. She was moving out of state. She was taking the dog, even though she was going to be in England for a month. Like, she wasn't going to allow Jack to have the dog for that month that she was gone. That's a little. Why would he go to the G's house instead of his own family? Good point. And I mean, yeah, when people are grief stricken, it's always hard to second guess their reaction to things. But why would he not answer any of those calls and then not go over there in the morning, not try to make some kind of contact? I mean, that whole thing is just kind of dropped like a hot potato, like so many other issues in this case. Like they all lead down these crazy paths and then they just drop off the face of the earth. That's one of them. Another one is Xana. I called her Xana May in one of my videos. Isn't that awful? Xana, when she was on the TikTok thing or whatever it was that she was on at like 4:12 a.m., the last word that she typed or somebody typed on her phone was queen. This whole case was all full of the queens, the kings, the jacks. I mean, creepy AF. It's just bizarre. And yeah, maybe it's just another one of those weird quinky dinks, but it's not necessarily her that typed that either. And those girls were so freaking gorgeous. Every single one of them, all 5 that lived in that house. I mean, they were all cuter than each other, right? Cuter than a bug's ear, every single one of them. And then for 2 of them to be untouched, unscathed. And then for, if it wasn't for Ethan being there, it would be, feminicide. Is that how you say it? Femicide? Like you might think, well, they were taken because of some type of sexism or, you can't leave the sexuality out of these cases, like not just the gender, but how hot these people were. And that includes Kaylee, Kylie Rodney. It gets so confusing, doesn't it? As soon as Idaho 4 started, it was just like weird how many names were so similar, like Xana May and Kylie and Kaylee. There was the Maddies. There was, in Kylie Rodney's case, you had a bunch of Nates, like 8 of them or something, a lot of Nates. And then Nicks, you had a lot of Nicks. And then in the Idaho 4, you've got all those Jacks. It's just very, very weird. Hey, Jazz, how are you doing today? How are you, Sandra Lankford? Sorry, it's taken me 6 minutes to get there. Nice to see you, my dear. And I believe all 4 wanted out. Kaylee probably running from her own family. Well, and her and Maddie had both backed out of their sororities, didn't they? Like cancel their sorority membership, which you can't really do. I mean, it's almost like a CLUT kind of thing that, once you're in for life. And, people stay in their sororities and fraternities as alumni. They continue to contribute to them. They continue to use them as social networking and business networking. Squirrel, hey girl, happy food hangover day, taking a break from video making to listen in. Hey dear, and so nice to get text from you, and nice that you're here. Thanks. So I'm always glad when you're here, Shan, because you keep me in check with the political stuff, because I don't want to be over the top. I don't want to be offensive. But I do have some stuff I need to talk about. JessicaDenson is a content creator. Hit that like button if you don't mind. I did all the other stuff. JessicaDenson is a former Trump aide who left the Midas Touch group recently, like just new, like in the last week. She made a video 6 days ago about it. So she was just she had a weekly spot, and her channel or her little weekly spot was called Lights On. So I intended this video to be a reaction to the JessicaDenson video that she talks about being shadow banned and things being suppressed. So something that nobody talks about, including me, is with the election, how there could have been anything deceitful in the election. And I'm not saying that there was, but I'm saying that there needs to be no stone left unturned. And questioning the validity of an election is something that should always be done. And they're usually audited. And at this point, it's not an audit that would be going on. I mean, here we are, the very end of November. It would be a recount because the auditing would take too long. And if there were an issue, deadlines would pass and it would just be a mess. But in recount, which is, I guess, what they're doing behind the scenes with like paper recounting, making sure what she said that was so profound to me. I don't know if she said it or if my brain ran with it. I think she said it, that the whole like dumpster fire poop fest of the cabinet picks has been a dog and pony show to distract from the whole recount of the votes, because a lot of people don't realize that that's going on in the background, that they are recounting the votes. And yeah, if that's the way the democracy voted, then that's the way the democracy voted. And we have to, people that don't like it, like me, have to figure out how to accept it and move on, which, you know, I didn't think I could, but I pretty much am. But because I believed that it had been messed with. I mean, look at Elon Musk, look at the power that he has, look at Putin, look at the whole situation. And then when you look at all of the Republicans that jumped ship, and I don't think that new supporters were getting won over in the campaign of packages, shall we say, dudes packages and crazy schlongs and crap and weird dance fests for 40 minutes and I don't even know, puppy killers and such. Weird stuff. And then the person campaigning said specifically a couple of times, I was paying way too much attention. He would say things like, it really doesn't matter how you vote or who votes. All that matters is who's counting. Like, seriously? Okay. All right. What does my friend Shan say? What you working on? Sandra says, OMG, I just keep eating. I'm gluten for punishment. I thought you were going to say gluten free, which is always a challenge, especially on holidays and if other people are around. What you're working on, Shan? The FEMA aide is doing some weird-ish before leaving office on the 20th. What FEMA is updating stuff for quickly stepping down is concerning. Look it up, JW. Something on YouTube covers it well. Was it authenticated? I'm a libertarian centrist. Cool. Yeah. You know, the only thing in my understanding of libertarian that I don't agree with is that libertarians, from my understanding, think that people should be allowed to put into their bodies whatever they want to put into their bodies and that there shouldn't be laws about substances. And to me, that's just wrong. Like, addicts are addicts and addicts need help. And that's, in my opinion, a way of saying, like, let the low life scum kill themselves off. That's how I see that. So I can't really see myself ever being under that type of oh, label, I guess. But for a long time I didn't consider myself a Democrat or a Republican. I guess you would say an independent or something. Working on a new music video too. Yeah. Yeah, so I've been all excited about music, and that was something I wanted to share with you guys too. I fell down the coolest rabbit hole last night after all this YouTube and shorts making. Um, I learned some stuff I had no idea, and I'm so excited to continue learning about. You guys know how I'm a big fan of the Rolling Stones and Brian Jones, who passed away in the 60s. And then in my last video, I put links to Donovan, the artist from the late 60s, early 70s. He's still alive. His two big songs that I love, a lot of people know him for Mellow Yellow. I love Sunshine Superman and Season of the Witch. So he wrote Sunshine Superman for his wife that he's still married to. They're 77 and 78. And he wrote that in 1970, I think, or they got married in 1970. But his wife, Linda, and I don't have her last name here handy, had a baby with Brian Jones when she was 17, and he was like 21. Brian Jones had like at least half a dozen children that he knew of when he died. I think he died at 27. No, he was younger. He might have been just like 23, 24. I'll have to look that up again. Anyway, so Donovan's current wife is one of Brian Jones's baby mamas. I had no idea there was that connection. And then it reminded me of the whole Anita Pallenberg thing, because Brian Jones was with Anita Pallenberg. They were like identical twins. And he was just a piece of work. And then she ended up getting into a long-term relationship with Keith Richards. And I think she had 3 kids with Keith. But Mick Jagger wrote Wild Horses for her after she tried to take her own life after Brian Jones passed away. And she was still with Brian Jones at the time. So anyway, there's a new movie that came out last year by Nick Broomfield called The Stones and Brian Jones on Hulu that I've not seen yet, but I will probably watch it very soon. And yeah, there's other stuff to talk about with that too. But let me try to stay a little more focused on the JessicaDenson reaction to her video. So she was a Trump aide, and then she was being harassed, and she got schlonged, and she filed a lawsuit. And then she started speaking out about that lawsuit, and then she got shadow banned. I think she came onto the streets of YouTube to talk about the lawsuit, and I think she was shadow banned big time from jump. And then Midas Touch was the first opportunity that was given to her to be heard. So I think she was with Midas Touch for maybe a year or two. I don't know. I'm brand new to Midas Touch, but she just left them because talking about the campaign, a lot of the Democrats have taken what I think they consider the high road of just not complaining at all and just going, putting on their big kid panties and putting one foot in front of the other and trying to move forward and blame themselves for whatever was done or not done, or blame each other. I don't know, but just to keep it amongst the Democrats, which, if that's the truth, then fine. But I think that it needs to be considered what the whole truth is, because I don't trust Elon Musk. I don't trust Putin, and I don't trust the Angry Orange at all. I mean, I know some people that are supporters of him think that he's like the only one that's trustworthy. I couldn't think that that's further from the truth. And I'm also openly a fan of Mary Trump, his niece, who's a psychologist and has her own YouTube channel. And she's extremely humble, extremely honest. And I just really appreciate what she's doing. And, she's terrified of his psychology, his money grubbing, his power tripping. And I mean, this whole thing with the 2025, what do they call it? The Agenda 25 or something like that is the Handmaid's Tale. And we don't need that. There's enough of that already. Like, we don't need any more of that. No, thank you. Let's see. I remember Donovan. Those offers jumped right back into, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, those effers. Good thing I cleaned my glasses so I can tell that it says effers and not offers. I remember Donovan, and yeah, I looked him up last night because I talked about him in my video the day before yesterday. And I was like, I think they're still alive and I think they're still married. And yeah, they are both still alive and still married. So they've been married for like over 55 years. That's pretty freaking cool. And they'd been together. Did they even have a baby? And then they got together after she had the baby of Brian Jones. And she was raising that baby. And Donovan and her, once they got married, he adopted that baby and they changed the baby's name and they raised him as their own. And they also had other children. But during a short time where they were broken up, the late 60s, I want to say she might have had a baby with somebody else, maybe even two, but I'm not sure. I know that Donovan had 2 children with somebody else during that time, but she definitely was like together with somebody else. She was living in San Francisco. I don't know if he was living in London or something, because he's Scottish, I think, which I didn't know that either until just last night. Anyway, so he wrote Sunshine Superman for her to let her know that there was no way in hell that anything was ever going to keep them apart, but they just needed to be patient and then they'd get back together and get married, which they did in 1970, right after he wrote that song. So pretty cool. And then they've been together ever since, which is phenomenal for any marriage to last that long, but especially the marriage of a freaking rock star. And you guys want to know who Mick Jagger's ex-wife, Jerry, is married to? Rupert? Oh, Jerry, what is her name? Mick Jagger's ex-wife, Jerry. Mick Jagger Jerry Hall. See, as soon as I start typing it in, then I remember Jerry Hall. So Jerry Hall is married to Rupert, some 90-year-old bazillionaire. And she's like really conservative, I think. Let's see, Jerry Hall, husband, net worth, dare I even, Keith Rupert Murdoch. He's 93 years old. Oh, wait, no, they divorced 2 years ago. Good thing I looked it up. So they divorced when he was 91-ish. Why is Rupert divorcing Jerry? Combination of personal and lifestyle differences. Well, I don't think she was ever faithful to Mick Jagger, and she's a heck of a lot younger than Rupert. And I kind of doubt she married him for love, although that's just my opinion, right? Let's see, what's her net worth? Bazillions. Oh, only 20 million. That's not that much, considering she was one of the most popular models in the world in the 70s. I know she was from Texas, right? She's got a Texas accent, the twang. Let's see. Shan will be keeping an eye on them to be dropped. I think Sandra's saying, Shan, I will be keeping an eye on them to be dropped. Yeah, she's been very productive. Replace pinned message. Pretty good nutshell. I can't remember what nutshell I was talking about. Let's see. That was 7 minutes ago. So who knows? My brain doesn't go that far back at the moment. You can remind me if you want. CP30. Her family. Hey, family. How is everyone? Hey, Astro from space. Nice to see you. And you know, every time I see your handle, I think of the Kylie Rodney case because you were very, very invested in that. I don't know if you have a channel of your own. If you do and you want to share, please do. I love your hat to the back. You're so awesome. Oh, thank you. You're cute. I know. I thought in a couple of videos ago when I made a short of the one that I don't know, not the Gazpacho Police one, but the other one, the one about Julie Fry and James Fry and how they were like the government heads of Moscow city government. I think I was kind of dressed more business-like, so I thought I'll, show you guys what a badass mofo I am with my backwards hat that I found. I don't think I've ever worn the hat backwards on the YouTube. I've wanted to, but then I'm like, no, I look like I'm trying to be too cool or something. And no, as long as I know what a dork I am, then it's fine. And I am 100% dork. I mean, come on, I'm a mom, right? I'm going to be a grandma in a few months. Let's see. Mookie, come here, baby. Come here. And this is such a suspicious case. Who, me? No, I'm just kidding, Sandra. The Idaho 4 is such a suspicious case, just like the Kylie Rodney case. I mean, the fact that the CHP finally put their report out 24 months after the fact, all the information that you need is right there. There's nothing they can ever do to take care of that, to explain that. I think the word would be ameliorate, but I'm not sure. Sometimes I misuse words. So I try to keep my vocabulary simple for myself, not just for everyone else, but for me too. Like, I don't like to use the big 25-cent words, but sometimes they describe things better than anything else. Like my go-to is what's cathartic. Like this process to me is cathartic. And for anybody who don't know, cathartic just means it's a therapeutic process that you've worked something out. So when I come on live and I'm with you guys and we're talking, I work a lot out. My brain does better. My heart does better. Everything does better. I literally feel like I'm more me than when I'm not making my lives. When I'm not making my lives, it's like I'm kind of mute. I'm shut down. And I just can't believe how much I've gotten into this process and how comfortable I am talking to you guys for the most part. I mean, sure, I'm still a little self-conscious about this, that, or the other, but it's nice just putting all that aside and knowing that, I'm human, I'm a nerd, I'm going to make mistakes. It's all good, right? Hannah. Yeah, Hannah's case. Let's talk about that. Damn. Yeah, I saw this video this morning that I tried to watch and it wouldn't let me watch it. It was like deleted, but it was like from mainstream media and it said it had 18,000 views. So I'm like, why can't I see it? When I tap on it, I'd get a blank screen and I've never had that happen, ever. And it kept happening. I kept going back to it to see if it was just a hiccup. And maybe it was just a hiccup. Maybe it's resolved now. Who knows? Anyway, let me try to catch up with all your comments. Maybe it's the potential corruption in several of these cases more than the case itself. Let's see. Jazz is adorable in a backwards hat. She needs to do it more often. Ah, you're so cute, Cheyenne. Thank you. Well, I'm just copying you. You do the backwards hat quite a bit, right? That's why I didn't do it, was because it was your signature and I didn't want to like step on your toes. No, I'm just kidding. I just didn't want people to think that I thought I was a hipster, which is hilarious because it's like I never wore my hair in pigtails, like two ponytails when I was in my 30s or 40s because I was afraid that people would think that it was too young of a hairstyle for me. But now in my 50s, I do it all the time. I'm just like, who cares what people think, right? Hannah's case has the same odd vibes as Kylie's. It has such similar vibes. It also has very similar vibes to Taylor Casey or Casey Taylor, the tall, black, trans woman from Chicago that flew to the Bahamas for her yoga certification and disappeared from the ashram. Hannah's case is very similar to that. And Kylie's, like all three of them are similar. And I don't know that SF Investigates ever got involved with the one from Chicago that went to the Bahamas, but the fact that he was involved in Kylie's and Hannah's, he's still involved in Kylie's, isn't he? I mean, he's posted stuff saying that pretty recent, that he's been on the payroll for 2 years straight. And that's just crazy. It's also crazy that he would divulge that information. But you can't believe anything he says anyway. I can't. I don't. Yeah, Mob Crew. That's a great channel. I love that content creator. I saw that they were doing some stuff on Hannah. Let's see. Agree, Shan. Not all women look good in backward cap. She's rocking it. Oh, you're hilarious. It's my lucky day. And I still feel like I have something in my tooth, so let me just do that. My Waldorf salad. I can't do a holiday without a Waldorf salad. If you guys don't know what it is, you can Google it, or I can tell you real quick. It's delish. Walnuts, apples, celery, raisins, and I do half plain yogurt, half mayo for the dressing. And you can do so many variations on it with apples versus pears, with grapes versus raisins, or cranberries. Or maybe pecans instead of walnuts, although I would never try that. Yeah, you have to have the celery, you have to have the apple, you have to have the walnut, in my opinion. I have mixed up, instead of raisins, done grapes or cranberries. And sometimes I've done it all mayo, but it's just healthier with the half mayo, half plain yogurt. And personally, I actually like the way it tastes better too. So, and then it's nice to have some vegetables with all that other stuff that you're eating, because I don't really like green beans, to be quite honest. Okay, enough about food. Did I make you guys hungry? We did ham and turkey, which is my favorite to do both. One year I did duck. It was hilarious. It's so funny. We probably did ham, turkey, and duck, and that was probably like after we'd been married for 2 years, and we had my husband's parents over, and that was just hilarious, because they were just like so like white bread, and here I was adding duck to the Thanksgiving dinner. So anyway, enough. I was going to get caught up, right? Mob Crew Dude done an incredible deep dive into her case. I'll have to check him out. Yeah, because I think it was the one that I saw. I didn't watch it, but I saw the thumbnail for it. It looked like it was over an hour. Watched that last night while I fell asleep. Also has Petito vibes as well. Just odd turns. I know. And it's, I've never thought I'll just say this, you guys. I know I'll get labeled. I've never thought that it was even a remote possibility that Gabby wasn't toast, right? I mean, they had that whole thing with Red, White, and Bethune driving by the van, and then her remains and all that crap. I mean, it was a freaking nightmare. And it wasn't until this case with Hannah and then SF Investigates and just how suspicious I am of him that I thought, what if Gabby was abducted for trafficking, and that was a body double, bones that they put out there, and that, Brian knew, he sold her, maybe, like, what, he had $20,000 somewhere, right? Who the F knows? I'm not saying that I think that that's what happened, but I have always questioned trafficking for the 6 days that Brian went back to Florida to clean out the locker, and Gabby allegedly was in a hotel room all by herself near the Salt Lake City airport. I've also always questioned why the cops were putting him up in a motel that night of August 12th, 2021, and telling her to go sleep out in the wide open wilderness in a white van all by her freaking lonesome. That was effing crazy and made me suspicious right away. And we still don't have the body cam footage from Melissa Hall, the park ranger that took Gabby aside and I think had like a 45-minute conversation with her. She told Gabby straight up that she thought she should leave Brian. And I've always wondered if she had suggestions for where Gabby could sleep that night and feel safe, and if she might have suggested getting a hold of Kylen, Schulte, and Crystal Turner. And Gabby would have been interacting most likely with Kylen Schulte on the 12th all day while she was sitting in front of the Moonflower at a table working on her website. And Kylen was selling produce outside of the Moonflower, and she opened that morning at 6 a.m. and she worked until 2. So she got off work at 2. I think Crystal came and they were hanging out there at the Moonflower. And then the domestic violence altercation, I think, happened at about 4. And then the pullover there at the Delicate Arches with law enforcement probably happened at about 4:30-ish. I could be off a little bit in my time frame there. But then 2 days later, Crystal and Kylen are both with bullets in them up at their campground at LaSalle Loop Road. And they were both in their underpants. Trigger warning. I think there were indications of potential SAs. The whole thing with the freaking Gatorade bottles, you guys, if you don't know about the Gatorade bottles, let me tell you about those Gatorade bottles real quick. It makes me so sick. And let me try to stay caught up, and then I'll talk about the Gatorade bottles because it's fascinating and random. And a lot of people know about the Gatorade bottles. A lot of people don't know. Watched that last night while I fell asleep. Also has Petito vibes as well as Just Odd Turns. SF is such a scumbag. Haven't seen him do any good for any case he's touched, but I'm glad he said what he has. He doesn't realize his words, actions help expose corrupt aspects. Exactly. I know. And yeah, just his profession, I'm doing the air quotes all the time. His profession as a photographer, and then Hannah's profession as a photographer. What was she scheduled to photograph in New York City? Does anybody know? Duck Like a Christmas Story. This might be really odd, but I don't think I've ever seen A Christmas Story. That's the one with the lamp leg in it, right? I mean, I've seen It's a Wonderful Life a million times. I love that movie. I've seen a bunch of, probably all the other Christmas movies. I don't know that I've seen Christmas Story. So I don't know about the duck in Christmas Story. I always think of LA Story when Steve Martin's trying to make reservations for that ridiculously expensive restaurant. I think it's called the Lido, and you have to make your reservations like a year or two in advance. And Captain Picard, that actor, Patrick Stewart, sits down with Steve Martin to go over his financial records to see if he can afford to make a reservation. And he's like, so if I were to let you make a reservation at the Lido, what might you be ordering? And Steve Martin's like, huh? And he's like, what do you think you're going to order? And he's like, I don't know, the duck. And Captain Picard is like, you think with a financial statement like this, you can have the duck? You'll have the chicken. And your date, you have the chicken too. Okay. Did I go off track enough for you guys? Okay. But that was fun for me anyway. I hope for you too. Fa ra 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 ra. Oh, is that from A Christmas Story? Sorry to hear, Jackie Bushable. SF is a bag of crap. I thought you were going to say bag of scum, because that'd be a great way to say scumbag. Bag of scum. No grapes in your Waldorf? The one I made yesterday just had raisins, no grapes. And then that's what I was eating for breakfast or lunch right before I came on, and I threw little bits of ham in it. It was so good, and it's sitting right over there. But I'm okay without it for the moment. I love water salad. Sherry says, oh, I think a lot of people don't know what it is. A lot of people do know what it is, but they don't usually have it at their holiday meal. My family, we've never been able to have a holiday meal without it. Like, it's not a holiday meal unless there's water salad. And it always goes over really well with people who aren't familiar with it, or they know what it is, but they're still not that familiar with it. Is it German? Is that it? I bet it's German, because my grandparents were stationed in Germany for a long time. I bet that's where they picked it up, was Christmases in Germany. We still don't have any vids of Gabs at the hotel. None, nada, zilch. But yeah, look over here. Right. So she could have been getting trafficked at the hotel. She could have been getting trafficked the night of the 12th. And we don't know what happened. We don't know how long they were in Moab for before the incident on the 12th. We don't know exactly when they left Moab, other than Brian flying out of Salt Lake City and her staying at the hotel. We don't know where they stayed the night of the 13th or the 14th, the 15th. I think it was the 16th or the 17th, probably. One of those that she checked into the hotel and he flew out to clean out a storage locker with his dad to save money. Like, really, you're going to spend $1,000 on a hotel room, $500 on a plane ticket to go save a few $100 on a storage unit? Give me a break. Especially with weren't his parents in real estate? I think that was like one of the investments in their portfolio. They were millionaires, and they owned juice bars, and then his sister and her husband owned juice bar or juicer repair parts company. So Gabby worked for one of the juice bars that the parents owned. And then Gabby and Brian lived in one of the condos that the parents owned. At times they lived with the parents. And then what I was starting to say is, with being real estate investors, whether they were flipping places or whatever they were doing, you would need a storage unit, because you always need to stage places if you're, selling real estate, basically. Hola, Fredfield. Nice to see you, my dear. Hey there. How was your Thanksgiving? So, what was it that I was going to try to get back to? Dang it. It was a minute ago. It was so important, too. I said, I'll get right back to that. Can you guys help me out? And then I got all carried away with LA Story, Steve Martin. It was before that. This never happens. It's something that I think will always happen when I'm on live. They'll be like, wait, what was I talking about? But I said, I'll get back to that in a minute. It was about, like, SF Investigates, Gabby Petito, Kylie Rodney, the trafficking thing. And yeah, I don't want anyone to think that I believe Gabby's living, because I don't. I wish she was, but just knowing that SF Investigates was involved makes it weird. Like, really? Hannah, yeah, you are awesome, Shan. It's funny because you say Hannah and then you say no clue. Hannah. Okay, so Hannah Kobayashi, the woman from Hawaii. And that video that I was trying to watch this morning, because it just seems like we haven't really gotten any real information on that case. Like, any information that's come out has been manipulated, has been kind of processed, and just not transparent. And then we get told certain things, and then we get untold certain things. So her ex-boyfriend was traveling with her, right? and he wasn't sitting with her allegedly. And it sounds like I don't know if they broke up before they got the tickets or after they got the tickets. I don't know if she was compliant with him traveling with her, if she wanted him to travel with her, if she didn't want him to travel with her, or what. But, just a real quick rundown of the case as far as I know, and you guys can fill me in on anything from like Mob Crew or any of the other cases, channels that have followed the case that you think is real relevant. Um, it sounds like she missed her connecting flight in LA to New York, but her luggage didn't. And so she was, I guess, happy to stay in LA for a few days, because then she coordinated with the airline to send her luggage back to Los Angeles, and she went and picked it up at the LAX. And then I know Zav Girl has done extensive research and looking at all that footage from Skid Row and actually finding her in some of it, which is just wild. It really sounds like there was some substance use involved. And I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to insult anybody. Life gets crazy enough without substance abuse involved, but then you throw substances in there. I know before I got sober, I did some crazy traveling in California, and substances were involved and things weren't planned. And I just kind of went where the wind blew me. And it turned out okay because of my guardian angels and such. But yeah, like I'll be very explicit. One of those trips, I was living in Olympia, Washington at the time. It was in the summer. I was a college student. And I think I was in the woods. For some reason, I had my bike. That was my means of transportation. I had my bike in the woods. So I was probably walking it because I didn't want to leave it anywhere, and I didn't have a lock. But then, I met up with somebody and then decided to go travel with them, jump in a vehicle and go to Reggae on the River in Northern California. Yeah, that's what it was. It's coming back to me now. And it was a little group of people, but I probably just ran into one person. I don't know. Anyway, I ditched my bike in the woods thinking, well, I'll hide it back here and hopefully it'll still be here when I get back. Right. Then I went to Reggae on the River, and then I was trying to make it to my friend's wedding in Southern California. I didn't make it there, but I just happened to cross paths with my mom from Ohio, who is visiting her friend in Santa Rosa. So that saved me from a whole lot of crazy and going down to Los Angeles in that state of mind. And so I hung out with my mom for a while. We hung out in Bolinas, which, if you don't know Bolinas, it's like the most adorable seaside town in the world, north of California, north of Stinson Beach, that is very small and unknown, unpopulated. They always take down the signs and try to delete any public information about Bolinas so that it doesn't, get tourists. And so we hung out in Bolinas for a really long time. I want to say 2, 3, 4 weeks. And then, I could have stayed there for the rest of my life. That was the coolest place. But I was there with my mom. And then by the end of the summer, I went back to Olympia, Washington, and started up another school year at Evergreen State College. And, I played on their soccer team. So that kind of helped me be a little bit sober and clear while I was in Bolinas, because I was training to make sure I was in shape for the soccer season that was going to be starting soon. So I was out jogging and stuff like that, not just smoking pot nonstop. And then when I got back up to Olympia, Washington, I went and looked for my bike, and I was like, someone stole my bike. It's been I don't know, at least a month, if not 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And me and my delusional, crazy 20-year-old thinking thought that it might still be there. I guess it would have been possible if I hid it well enough and put it under branches or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's my story. And so, with this thing with Hannah, I think about stuff like that. She might have just, there could have been mental health issues. There could have been issues with the ex-boyfriend. There could have been issues with substances. There could be all the above. And then her father looking for her, and then him coming up deceased. It's very suspicious. Like, sure, it could be that he was having mental health issues too, and he did that to himself in a crisis. But if it was an unattended loss of life and they're not treating it as a potential for foul play before they can rule out any foul play, that's a huge red flag right there. Right there. If they're just like, oh, no foul play over here, the way they always are in these cases, it seems, before they've even gotten through the door, basically. And you can't determine the outcome of an investigation at the beginning of the investigation. That can only be determined after the investigation. That's the whole point in having an investigation. But did they investigate anything with her dad? Is his name Ryan Kobayashi? I think he was like 56. Did they investigate it, or did they just say, oh, self-delete, Thank you so much for pulling me back on track, Shan. To save money because he was broke, but he did have 10 or 20K in his parents' attempt to control when he allegedly bit the dust. Right. And he stole Gabby's bank card and at least $1,000 out of her account. Ugh, gross. His parents are so gross. And we know he's still living. We know that. I mean, that whole thing was a freaking joke. His dad pretending that he found his dry pack when he went out there with his backpack with something in it. And then he breaks off from the authorities. And then 20 minutes later, he's like, oh, look at the dry sack I found. But what's so funny about that whole thing was they had not his ID, right? They did not have Brian Laundrie's ID because he needed that to get his passport and leave the country. His driver's license was not there. Instead, they had a baseball cap with Moab coffee roasters on it. They had photographs of him and Gabby. They had his journals or whatever. But then they had the burn after reading letter that Roberta had written Brian. And I don't think they looked through the stack of his writings that they threw in there to try to set it up to make it look like it was him. I think that burn after reading letter was a huge gaffe in their plan. And then they handed that over to the federal authorities. And then Roberta trying to mansplain or womansplain the burn after reading letter was hilarious. She just kept making it worse. When you get caught red-handed, anything you say that's a big fat lie is just going to make it look that much worse. Like with Scammy Smith, like with NK, everything they say that we repeat in our minds and on our lives, and we're just like, oh my God, how could they say that? That was so effing crazy. Those are the things that are big fat lies, and they didn't realize how stupid it was going to sound until they said it, and then they couldn't suck it back into their mouth, right? I have her completely, what? All possibilities are still out in the air. Oh, no, that's not her. That wasn't her location. Those are all quotes from Scammy in that 30-minute interview with Tony Dodge. That wasn't where she was located. It may be the exact quote, something like that. But you don't use location and located when you're talking about an alive person, do you? I mean, that makes me think that she was deceased. Because you know me, I flip-flop on that. Sometimes I think she was definitely unalived in those few days. Other times I think maybe she's still being trafficked. I don't think that that was her in the back of the car. And I can't believe that that car is being sold on the auction block. Shan, what's the highest bid now? The last live the day before yesterday, you said it was like 250 clams, right? Shan, my husband's fave movie, so I bought him the bunny suit, big old country boy, is more Elmer Fudd. My son got a extra gift and likes it. I don't know what that's referring to, Sandra. I must have missed something. Squirrel says, it's my favorite movie. Oh, you guys are talking about the Christmas Story? Favorite movie around the holidays. I'll have to watch it. I think I've seen parts of it. My dad and I watched it every year together until he passed. I used to always buy him a shirt from the movie, a gag gift from the movie, and a regular gift. Isn't that the movie with the lamp leg in it? Now Fee and I carry on the tradition. I was delayed on that response. LOL. I got sidetracked. I forgot. I made cranberry jam, so I made Fee and I some butter toast with cran jam. Oh my goodness, that sounds so good. I love just plain butter toast, like white bread butter toast with strawberry jam. But that sounds really good too, cranberry jam. SF finally got an interview with the mom and stepdad of Sebastian Rogers, blah, 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 blah. Well, and that case is not one that I've looked at all because of all the effery involved. And there's like a certain content creator who like is involved like deeply. No, like in real life, not just as a content creator. But then I think he covers it on his channel too. So I'm just like, I would never do something like that. You know, anything happens pretty much anywhere in my state, I steer clear of it. I mean, seriously, you've probably noticed that about me until the eating the cats and dogs in Springfield. I got ensnared into that one. I mean, it was kind of funny, not funny. That whole eating the dogs, eating the cats. I mean, it really just it puts fire on or fuel on the fire of racism. The Haitians eating the dogs and cats. It was not a thing at all. Like all those facts about Springfield were so far off, it couldn't have been stupider. Springfield is a city of 80,000 people that has been way shrunk down to under 50,000 until these Haitians were invited in, and it's brought the population up over 60,000. So it's still a dying city. It's still not up to snuff, but there's plenty of groceries and hospital beds and schools for everybody, whether they're from another country or not. The people from other countries are welcome and invited, and they're not eating anybody's cats or dogs or ducks or geese. The whole thing was such a freaking nightmare, and it caused so much trouble for the city and for kids and for families just to live their day-to-day lives. I mean, it was a nightmare. It was so not safe. It's already not a safe city. It's not like a nice little Mayberry town the way they tried to pretend it was. It's quite the opposite. It's always been more like not to the extreme of like Flint, Michigan, but that type of thing. Like it's a pretty hardcore town of the area. So Middleton, where Vance is from, is also a hardcore town from the area. That's probably very similar. They're both very industrialized. They're both very working class. They're both poorer. They're both more prone to thug life, like real thug life, and crime and substance abuse and accidental overdoses and shootings and all that stuff. Like that happen. All those things happen on a routine basis in Springfield and in Middleton. So this whole thing about, oh, is this beautiful, perfect small town that the Haitians came in and ruined? No, it was this very, very troubled town that the Haitians came in and helped. So Yeah. So other than that, I've tried to stay out of Ohio cases just because, with the profession that my husband is in, I just think it's wise. But as a content creator, I just think that's wise too, to try to not get personally involved in any of this, right? And I know a lot of content creators do get personally involved and they want to interview people, and that's fine. Different strokes for different folks. I'm not judging anybody who does any of that. Um, I don't know if I would ever do that. I haven't yet. I haven't wanted to. So it's still at 250. Correction, 225. That man turns everything to poop. Yep. Poop and garbage. Let this be the year you watch The Christmas Story. I will. Absolutely. I'll check it out. A Christmas Story. Some people confuse water salad and ambrosia. Is that the salad with marshmallow in it? Now that's hilarious because you could call it a salad. It's pretty much jello and colored marshmallows. It might have some walnuts or a little bit of what do you call that stuff? Fruit cocktail. And I know people that love ambrosia. Me, not so much. It's way too sweet, and it just cracks me up. All the artificial food coloring, and I mean, it's pretty. It's a beautiful art looking thing. But my mother-in-law always made an ambrosia for every party, and she'd bring it in a Tupperware container, like she was trying to be a throwback to the 50s, the 60s, Stepford Wives. I mean, it was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. And she would call it salad. It's like, in my opinion, salad doesn't have marshmallows in it, baby marshmallows, colored baby marshmallows. It doesn't have jello in it. But yeah, some people love it. And if you don't eat fruits and vegetables and that's the only way you get any into your system, then that's, you got to have fruits and veggies in your system. So yeah, but government should not be leaving our DV victims, our elderly, our veterans, legit lying homeless for deceased in the streets. They stole all the shelter beds I've witnessed with my own eyes. Amen, Valentina. I'm imagining you guys are talking about Hurricane Helene and North Carolina. Again, I haven't been paying a ton of attention to it. I at first was, but yeah, there's been so much going on. I've tried to look back into the case in Kentucky with the judge and the sheriff's daughter and wife. And that case is just extremely curious. And it's not the only case like that. It seems like it's almost, it's not unique. It's almost just bringing attention to the fact that in these small towns, you have people doing this kind of stuff, like Woo, and goodness, what are their names in Pullman, Washington, at Wazoo, and the Pullman PD, those dirt bags that got sued for like that one, the one who got the entire command staff at Wazoo fired. I always know his name. That one usually comes to me. And then he didn't get himself, I'm sorry, got them resigned. He got himself resigned. So Dan Hartgrave, that's the other one. I think that's the one from Pullman. And then it's Matt somebody. Let's see, Dan Hartgrave got his own butt fired, but he had Dan Hartgrave, Pullman, Washington. Yeah. Former police sergeant accused of coercion with a Wazoo freshman into performing an intimate act. So that was really sad. But Dan Hargrave's, was friends with this other guy, the one who got all of the Wazoo people resigned. And he resigned November 4th, 4 days before Julie Fry won the election, and then another 5 days before the quadruple homicide. So let's see. Who is the other one? Dan Hargraves and Wazoo. Because the other officer was named in the suit. Why is it being so difficult? So the Wazoo officer. Sorry, you guys. The Wazoo officer, I think his name is Matt. It's giving me Gary Jenkins. We know who he is. Okay, it'll say in this article here, the 3 Wazoo police commanders retiring amid sexual misconduct investigation. So he was involved with Hargraves and that 18-year-old that night. Matthew Kurt, Kuhrt. So the situation with Matt Kurt, he was getting his jollies off pretty much every time he was on duty, it sounds like, for years. And I'm sure it was common knowledge. He was doing this all over campus with, consensual people. But then somebody got upset and called dispatch and reported him, which then caught up with him a few years later and caught up with his supervisors for never doing anything about it. So then the school said, oh, well, as soon as we found out, we put everybody on an administrative leave and did an investigation. And then they were just about to discipline all of the command staff, the police chief, the assistant chief, and the captain. And so they all resigned in the summer of 2022, I think August. And then that's when Jenkins came in. So, no, they were put on an administrative leave at the beginning of the year, like maybe somewhere around February or March. And then at that point that they resigned in the summer, Jenkins had interviewed Koberger on April 12th of 2022 for the fellowship position at Pullman PD. And then during this spring and summer of 2022, he retired from being the police chief of Pullman. And then he did that knowing that he was going to be the interim police chief at Wazoo. And then he was installed as the interim police chief, I want to say in August. And then August 21st was the day that they pulled Koberger over for not wearing his seatbelt in Moscow. And then I want to say August 22nd was maybe the day that fellowship was supposed to start, that we still don't know who got it, but somebody got it. That fellowship was something that they had every year, that they needed somebody to do it. It was an integral part of their department, in my understanding. And then Hargraves was pretty much forced to resign November 4th. So again, only 4 days before Julie Fry was then elected to be the clerk of courts, which gives her complete control over all of that information, full control. And then 5 days later, there's the slaughter at 1122 King Road of the 4 beautiful college students. And then her husband is the police chief who drives the U-Haul, who can't comb through 22,000 white Elantras who might have been in the back of the bar with the girls and Jack D arm's length away hours before they were unalived. And I'm not sure, but I think he had a student, a kid that was currently a student. I know that the president, Coomer Scott Green, had a kid that was currently a student when all this went down. And then that whole thing with Caden Young, if I'm getting his name right, Caden Young that died of the overdose in Western Washington on spring break 2023. I think it was spring break, in Centralia or Chehalis, that had previously been a president of one of the fraternities, not Sigma Chi, but a different one, and maybe played on the football team. But he was also the editor of the Argonaut, the school newspaper. And that could be very relevant, being an investigative journalist. Who knows what types of investigations he might have had his hands in. And anyway, am I getting off track? All this is just so bizarre. What are you guys saying? We got 20,000 of them, and they destroyed, 20,000 immigrants, Shan? Charles Laurie? I don't know. Is that a town near you? Charles Laurie, I'll look that up. Seeing our elderly and vets put out breaks my heart. I'm curious what Char Laurie is. Char Lar. Or are you trying to say Charlotte? Oh no. Okay, Char Laurie. Well, this is in Belgium. It's a municipality in Belgium. So should I put where'd that go? Seeing our elderly and vets. Is your chasing unicorn sign in the back from a game or something like exploding kittens? It's a thing for a desk. So you can say pretending to work or chasing unicorns. Those are your only two options. Okay, so yeah, that's a borough in Pennsylvania. I see. Near Interstate 70. And it says population 4,000, Washington County. Yeah, that's a really small town, 4,000. And then you had 20,000 come in? What? That's too many. That's insane. Oh, or you've had 20,000 come into the state of Pennsylvania, and they've destroyed that small town. Seeing our elderly. Okay. Charleroi. It's in Pennsylvania, like 10 minutes from me. Charleroi, Pennsylvania. Sorry, I spelled it wrong. LOL. I know, easy to do, right? So yeah. Are we getting just over an hour and a half? It's so nice coming on live with you guys. I should wrap up and eat my Waldorf salad. I don't want to eat it in front of you guys. It'll get all caught up in my teeth. And yes, we'll take a drink of my coffee, though. I think that's safe to do. I've got these cool little earrings on that I made. I think I've showed them to you guys before, but they're one of my favorites. And so I want to show them again because they're super unique. Can you see that? It's pretty simple. It's just like a hoop and a stone and kind of industrial looking, kind of Zen looking. I was wearing little books on my ears the last couple videos I made. If you noticed, I don't know. I meant to say something about them. They're dark blue and they're literally books. On the outside it says passport, but they're just adorable little tiny books. And I wore them for you guys. So, and I made this necklace too. It's like an antique, made out of antique stuff. It's not an antique that I made because that would be impossible unless I made it when I was like 10, then it could be an antique. But I made it a few years ago out of antique supplies and I just love it. It's very unusual. It has like chains on it, like little tiny chains. Here, I could take it off, but I don't want to. Can you get a good look at it? So it's weird because it's got these little chains at the bottom. It's got little rhinestones and crystal, and I love it. I always forget to wear it. So love your jewelry. Thanks, Sherry. All right, you guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Anything else anyone wants to say, speak now or forever hold your peace. Thank you so much for watching. Did I cover all the ground I was planning on covering? So yeah, this reaction that I was trying to start with to Jessica Denson, the ex-Trump aide. I'm very interested in learning more about her and her channel and her experience. She's writing a book about her experience. And one of the things she said that I'm glad I saw this to share with you guys is that you never know how things are going to go, right? You just don't. It's impossible. So, like, for instance, if you're planning to have a fight with a frenemy at a Lord of the Flies party and stuff, right? You can't predict how that's going to go. You just can't, no matter what. No matter what your plan is, no matter what the circumstances are, there's a lot of chaos and there's a lot of unknown factors and real life and things that happen. This is why there's no such thing as the perfect crime, because no matter how well you plan it, there's always going to be something that you didn't plan for. You might not like the genre of music I'm using in the next video. However, the message the video has with the graphics is fire. I like all kinds of music. Like I was listing off a bunch of stuff, which was hard for me because that was probably like 10% of what I love. You know, I love 9 Inch Nails. I love, Yellow Man. Who remembers Yellow Man? I mean, the guy was a dick, but his music was freaking awesome. So ska, Sublime and Nirvana. I mean, there's just so much. It's so hard to say. Again, I love movies too. So I love Talking Heads. I love David Byrne. David Byrne from the Talking Heads has made a few really great movies. One of the best, in my opinion, is called True Stories, and it's about the birth of the microchip, and it's a true story based in Virgil, Texas. And John Goodman is in the movie, and Spalding Gray is in the movie, and the woman that's in Beetlejuice, I think, is in the movie. Anyway, the movie is freaking awesome. If you haven't seen True Stories, see True Stories. So he's driving down the road in Texas in his big convertible car, and he's talking to the camera, and he says, "Do you like music? I know a lot of people say they like music." And I just thought it's always stuck with me because it's like, yeah, who doesn't like music? But one of my favorite jokes is like, do you like Western or country? And you know, what kind of music do you listen to? Western or country? Like those are the only two, right? It has a dark emo rap meets Manson vibe. I'd probably like that. Yeah. Totally. Maybe the artist will be Squirrel and Manson. Oh, that's hilarious. Hilarious. Yeah. I like the Trump rap, eating the dogs, eating the cats. I mean, that came out really good. He couldn't have planned that better, in my opinion. So, do not know how things are going to go. And then, yeah, so talking about the night of the hot August nights or the Lord of the Flies party. You know, I always like to call that Lord of the Flies party the Blair Witch Project party. There's a couple other names for it too. Blair Witch Project, if you guys remember that. Lord of the Flies. I like to call it the Silence of the Lambs Hannibal Lecter party. You know, those are just the things that come to mind. Well, and then you had Jägermeister looking like the character in Silence of the Lambs that would put women in the well, and make them put the lotion on the skin. It puts the lotion on. Gross, 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 gross. But wasn't Jägermeister like intentionally emulating that character? That was so freaky. So yeah, Silence of the Lambs, Blair Witch Project, Lord of the Flies, even even Stand By Me, the movie that River Phoenix and a bunch of them were in, where they find the remains out in the woods. And then when you find out, thank you, Shan, for finding out that Scammy's parents are essentially billionaires. I mean, that might not be all the money that goes into their pockets and their bank accounts, the $34 billion over the decade of the 2020s, but those are the government contracts that they have control over in a small town. So that kind of tells you everything you need to know right there. And I had already thought that, but I thought it was just like in the millions. I had no idea it was in the billions. So thanks again for all your good digging, squirrel. You're so good at that. So yeah, I'm curious if you're going to cover the Hannah Kobayashi case. I think you'd probably find some good material that other people haven't found, right? Curious what she was scheduled to photograph in New York. And yeah, I hope it's not too late for her. I hope that she is maybe like how I was that summer that I shared with you guys when I was, I think I was 21 that summer. Did I say 20? I think it was actually 21. Where I was running around Northern California and trying to get to Southern California. Hopefully she's just having a situation like that and she'll turn up in a couple of weeks or something. I don't know. I mean, that was kind of what I thought at the beginning, was that eventually she'd be found unharmed and there'd be all this public interest in her case, and she'd be embarrassed and the family would be embarrassed, and they'd be trying to get people to quit paying any attention to it, even though they had been asking people to pay attention to it to help find her safely. I've always foreseen that as how her story would end, and I hope so. I hope that it is just all a big to-do about nothing, right? Much ado about nothing. Hopefully she's just a 31-year-old who got a little wild when her layover went sideways in Los Angeles, and that is a really big, dangerous city to be in without a stable place to stay and a lot of money. And then apparently she had a lot of money, but maybe the ex-boyfriend tricked her out of it. I don't know. I do not know. I pray that she's okay. So on that, you guys, let's wrap her up and call it a day. Thank you kindly for being here with me on your Black Friday. If you're going to shop, I hope you get some hot deals. I was gonna shop, but then I was like, I don't know. I do not know. It's a wrap. Okay, love and light. Have a fabulous weekend. I probably won't get to do any recording over the weekend. I've got a full yoga training all weekend. So I'm kind of not excited to have that being 2 days after the holiday and with family around. But I always like to do that. But it is kind of an awkward timing for it because generally I do it once a month, one weekend a month. So I didn't realize that this one was so close to the holiday, and maybe they didn't realize it either when they scheduled it, because I just looked up yesterday and found out that Thanksgiving is always the fourth holiday of November. I honestly didn't know this my whole life. I learned this when I was this many days old, the number of days of yesterday. And that, today's the fifth Friday of November, but yesterday was only the fourth Thursday of November. So it being November 28th for Thanksgiving, that's like the latest possible date of November that Thanksgiving can be. And so maybe people thought when they scheduled the weekend yoga thing, maybe they thought that Thanksgiving was going to be on the 21st and that would be 2 weeks after. But, I don't think Thanksgiving would ever be on the 21st. It would only be on the 22nd if the 1st of November was a Thursday. So, yeah, does that make sense? Anyway, love and light, you guys. Drink your water, get your exercise. See how bad my hair's gotten during the hour and a half of the show? But the hat's good. It hides it, right? Get your rest and protein and just chill. Just be yourself. There's nothing more important than just being yourself. And I think that we all need to hear that. I wanted to plug self-care with your nail beds. This isn't to plug for the brand of this, but you guys probably all remember when Burt's Bees came out with the lemon cuticle butter back in the 90s. And we all started taking care of our cuticles. Remember that? Like those were the good old days. Like we all needed to take care of our cuticles and we had no idea what lemon cuticle butter was. And Burt's Bees saved us all. And then recently I got a whole bunch of that type of stuff. So I got the cuticle butter. This one is actually the hand salve, but it works just as good as the nail cream cuticle butter. And I just wanted to share that with you guys to remember to do that. Like this one is a lemon body butter by a small company called Botanically Better. And it smells really good, but it's a little bit messy. But if you have anything like this, and if you don't, you can just use lotion. You can even literally use actual butter. That's like something from the Handmaid's Tale book and movie where they don't have any access to facial cream, so they use butter. They have to steal it. Anyway, I will be staying home like I do every year. Love and blessings. All right, you guys. Thanks a million. I appreciate you. Don't forget to hit that like button on your way out if you haven't yet. And have a lovely holiday weekend. See ya on the next one. Oh, and check out those shorts.